Hi everyone, today you're going to learn the Caro-Kann defense, which starts after the moves e4 and c6, with the idea of playing d5 on the next move. The most principled approach is to just take the center once your opponent lets you do so, and we will strike back with d5. Here now the e4 pawn is hanging, and they have a multitude of ways of dealing with this threat. The most simple one is to just take, and we take back. And here white has two approaches. They can just develop normally with some moves like this, or they can strike back strike immediately at our center with the move c4. Let's start with the former. So they play knight f3. We just simply develop our knight first here, and let's say they also do so. And we, after they get their bishop out, we develop our light squared bishop. They castle, and now and only now do we play e6. If we played e6 move ago, our bishop would be blocked, of course. If we play e6 here, our bishop is blocked, and we will never get to activate it so easily. So, after bishop e4 and castles, here now we play e6, and let's say they play bishop f4, we play bishop e7, bishop d6 is also fine. Like after rook e1, we can just simply castle our king. We've developed all our pieces, and we have a very comfortable position. One idea is to basically zigzag this bishop and reroute it to g6 to trade it for this bishop, and if they take, we take back with the h-pawn to keep our pawns together and not pulled apart. Also, another idea is that we have got two pawns here, they've got three pawns here. One very interesting idea is to just push these pawns forward and try to trade like these two with any pair of these pawns. For example, the A and B pawns together. Then what they will be left with is a C pawn, which is backwards, and then we will try to put pressure on it with moves like this and try to attack on that side of the board. So this is the normal exchange Caro-Kann. But they also have this other idea, as I told you, which is to strike immediately with this move c4, which is called the pawn of Botvinnik attack. Here after knight f6 and knight c3, I actually recommend not to bring this bishop out, because if you do that immediately, we're just going to get forked and we're going to lose a pawn. So we have to voluntarily entomb our bishop, not like that, entomb our bishop. But we have a reason for it. Let's say they just go here, we develop, and whenever you see this bishop moving, we can just simply take on c4 and force them to move their bishop twice. Let's say we castle, they castle, and we play knight c6, developing, starting with our queenside development. Let's say they just develop a minor piece, and here we play b6. So we had an idea for where this bishop wanted to be all along. It belonged to the b6 square. And basically, in this line, you will try to utilize this d5 square, which is in front of this pawn, which is isolated. There are no pawns which can actually control it anymore, right? So one idea is after, for example, with bishop b7, let's say rook e1, and bishop b7, we can just put our knight to b4, which is an idea, to then reroute it to this square. And to basically put a knight in the center and dominate the center, and then possibly just get the rook in, put this queen out somewhere and just get this other rook in. Or maybe we can just pile the pressure on with the two rooks, doubling them up once this queen moves away. So these were the ideas of the exchange Caro-Kann. Congratulations, you now know how to play against white players who like to take on d5 and ensue the exchange variation. But white doesn't always have to go so easy on us. They can push the pawn, known as the advanced variation, obviously. And here there are two moves, the solid bishop f5 and the more aggressive c5. I prefer the more solid choice, and here white has two approaches. They can immediately harass our bishop. For example, with g4, here we'll play bishop e4, and after f3, bishop goes back. So we force them to move another pawn, creating some dark squared weaknesses. Let's say they attack headlessly, and we would stop them on their tracks. Here, if they give us a chance, we'll play this move e6, consolidating the center, and c5, breaking apart their central structure. But one move which is very dangerous, and you have to actually know the lines to this, is this move e6. If you take Bishop d3 is a bit dangerous because after like takes, really there's no more stopping queen g6. The correct move here is queen d6, looking to take with the queen without taking any structural damages. And after takes and knight e2, stopping queen g3 check, we can play knight d7 and we will strike in the center with e5 and have a very nice position. They can also play this move h4, which is called the tall variation. It's not about the height, it's about the name of the player. And here if you play this move g6, you've fallen into the trap. g4 and f3 and h5. So now that we know they're trying to trap our bishop, we can play this move h5, stopping g4 on his tracks, and we will have a nice game, even though white still has got chances here. The other move, which is slightly more refined, is this move knight to c3. Controlling the e4 square, and let's see, after move e6, they want to play g4. We no longer can play bishop b4, so we play back, and after knight here, they're trying to go knight here and possibly play h4, force us to move this pawn forward, and then take and weaken our pawn structure. Here the move c5 is known to actually equalize theoretically, but if you are below 1500 or maybe even higher, if you're below 2000, there's a very little chance that your opponents will actually play this line. So you don't really have to worry. Congratulations again, you now know how to play the advanced variation as black. They also can just keep this pawn on e4 and, for example, develop their knight. Whenever you see them keeping the pawn here, you can just take it. And after here, you got two main lines. One line is knight f6. After like take, we have two options, right? We can take like this, which is known as the Caro-Kann variation. It's a bit more solid. We just, not like that. We can get our king to safety, and these pillow of pawns, they really are helping the king. Sometimes we even would push this pawn forward because we already have enough defenders close to our king. We also have this very tricky Bronstein-Larsen variation in which black captures to the inside, possibly going with e5 at some point, and they can just also develop their queen side quickly and castle long. Also, we can use this g file for our own use, which is a very interesting thing as well. The other line, in fact, here is basically this move. Instead of knight f6, is this move bishop f5. It's known as the classical variation. This is very theory filled. After moves like here, they will try to play like something like h4 to h5, and there are a lot of lines here, and it's actually very very annoying, in fact, for black in some lines. You have to be playing very passively, so I don't really recommend it to players who are just beginning to play and love the game. I actually think that f6 is a lot better for beginners, but if you're really a good player, then bishop f5 is definitely a good choice. So yeah, also another thing is that if you try to play this move, we can simply take and get to the same position again. And there's one tricky line here, is that you can play f3. It's known as the fantasy variation, but it's not that scary as it looks. You have two approaches here. You can play the open way of the game, right? We can open the position. Of course, they cannot take with the queen h4. And the other way is to basically play this with e6, solidifying the center, creating a pyramid here, and saying this f3 move is really not that good. So basically this was with the protect variation, although they do not necessarily have to put two pawns in the center, right? They can just develop their knight. In this case, I really recommend to you that you bring your bishop out to the fight and just let it die and replace your pawns on the light squares. You basically can create a pyramid. This has already been a very common theme in the Caro-Kann. We just trade off our light square bishop and put all our pawns there. So this was with the Caro-Kann defense. You now know how to play it completely, and yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something from this video, and you can add this very good opening to your toolbox. It's a very solid one, and you can beat players who don't like such positions. Also, I have a question for you. What is your favorite drink and why? Thank you for watching this video and see you in the next one.